welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So I wanted to show everyone my newest CGC 9.8 comic book, and I think it's kind of an interesting scenario overall with a couple lessons to be learned, I think, because, yeah, as the title says, I think I pretty much broke my own rule and ended up overpaying for a great CGC 9.8 book nonetheless. So we'll get into kind of some of the details. I first talked about this book on, it was like 3 CGC 9.8 comic books I'm waiting on till after the movie video I did, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Just talked about how, you don't really want to buy books in a promotional environment for the most part. If there's a movie coming on or an announcement just happened or a show's coming out or whatever it is. Usually there's going to be higher prices, more demand, higher prices, more noobs drawn to the market. That kind of raises the prices. So, generally you want to stay away from that, but yeah, I did end up making a choice to pay up a little bit, I think, for a really nice copy of a classic book that I did talk about. So I kind of boiled it down to sort of 3 reasons why I went ahead and purchased a new CGC 9.8 in a promotional environment. So yeah, for the most part, you certainly don't want to go after too many books like this, but you're not going to get the best price for the most part. But yeah, every now and then in comic book collecting, I think you got to be a little emotional. So it's great when you can be patient sometimes and wait and get a great price on that book. That's certainly a different kind of great pride of ownership too. But sometimes, if not most of the times, but sometimes if you really want something, be a little emotional when you're collecting comic books is okay too, I think. Maybe I'm just justifying it. Yeah, so newest addition to the collection though is G.I. Joe Real American Hero #1. Really nice copy, gotta say too. And yeah, we'll get into kind of those 3 reasons why I ended up pulling the trigger and buying a G.I. Joe Real American Hero #1, the CGC 9.8 white pages. Yeah, on the census there's 542 CGC 9.8s in the blue label on the census this morning, and 20.9% is the CGC 9.8 ratio. So not extremely rare in any way, but not pretty a decent ratio. It's yeah, a lot of times for 80s books you see that ratio approaching like high 20s and into the 30s. So lower the better on this ratio. So a decent CGC 9.8 ratio. But I think what you get in this book, which is great, are a ton of first appearances. And the main ones, like first appearance of Snake Eyes, first appearance of Cobra Commander, even first appearance of the Baroness, who is kind of like a Cobra Commander officer. She's like a badass chick. And I think eventually she helps the Joes at times too. But those 2 big first appearances, Snake Eyes, Cobra Commander, I feel like if they were in their own, and I said this on the past video, but if they were in their own issue, say just happened to be in issue 2 or 3, those first appearances, those books would be a lot more than around $400 kind of thing. So you get just great first appearances, classic, Snake Eyes, Cobra Commander. You get all the Joes, so Hawk, Scarlet, Clutch, Rock and Roll, Stalker, Breaker, Flash, Grand Slam, Short Fuse, and Grunt. So a bunch of first appearances. A great cover, and yeah, we'll talk about price here because I ended up paying $380 for this book, and kind of bought it for with a best offer on eBay, $380. And just to get an idea of the whole price range, I think in this environment, someone on the team messaged me on Instagram and let me know that they had bought this. It was $330 something, I believe. Yeah, $330 something. Forget the exact, but that I think is a great price in this environment, and it was a newsstand version too. This one being the direct, so that was even the little bit more rare newsstand version. For $330 in this environment, I think is a really good price to kind of aim for. I paid $380 for mine. So really interesting was last night on eBay. There was one of these up for auction. I had my eye on it, and I had bid. It was a newsstand version of a G.I. Joe 1, so it would have kind of made a really good match to grab another one in a newsstand for a decent price in an auction. But that one ended up selling for $425. So $425, an auction last night. Wasn't as nicely centered as this one either, with the nice colors. I paid $380 for this one. Someone on the team about a week or two ago picked one up for $330, which I think in this environment is a really good price to kind of aim for. So I mentioned kind of 3 reasons why I decided to break my own rules and go ahead and buy a G.I. Joe #1, Real American Hero #1. So the first reason, I think in general, this book is kind of undervalued. So before this whole G.I. Joe movie, and you know, there is quite a lot of hype sort of for this new Snake Eyes movie that's coming out later this year. I think it's October later this year. But before this movie, this book I'd seen quite a few sell for like $300. And you know, if someone wanted to sell it pretty fast in a buy it now, it was like $299.99. And that would get bought in like a week or two, let's call it, or something. So that, you know, and like maybe if you were patient at auction, you get it for like $280, $285. I just think, you know, now that I think a good price is around $325, $330, let's call it. You know, I still think it's kind of undervalued. That's not a very big increase in price. I think you could still get this book at like a decent price, and you know, I wouldn't recommend to buy the book while the Snake Eyes movie is out, and if it does really well and like you see this book kind of knocking on maybe $500, like I wouldn't buy it in that environment. That's starting to definitely get like fully valued in this environment. But I think sort of low threes still is kind of undervalued. Get all those first appearances too. It's it's a Herb Trimpe and Bob McLeod cover. So yeah, Herb Trimpe is huge from Incredible Hulk 181. He's got a huge cult following of fans and knows how to do a great cover, obviously. And this one's definitely got a chance to just be a more and more appreciated cover over time. And I just love the ultimate weapon of democracy, it says down here. That's really cool. So being pro-democracy is cool. So second reason why, so first reason, kind of undervalued, you get all those first appearances. Second reason, I think this one's pretty much like a perfect copy almost. Great colors, great colors. It's, really something you can't really tell sometimes on the scan. It's really flat with gorgeous white pages. Yeah, for kind of an 1982 book, this one. Great white pages on this one. So even the background, like the back cover has a white back cover. So, you know, a lot of times you don't really like to see the white back cover on this one, but you just get a little sliver, and it's perfectly centered though. So I don't really mind having that, you know, little bit of off-centered where you can see the back cover a bit, as long as it's perfectly centered. I actually like that, because then you get the whole cover really nicely. Even on this one, their signatures are in the corner here, so it's almost even more important that it's very nicely centered. To kind of get the signatures, so you don't see like half of them if it's not nicely centered. Which last night, that one for $425 had like half of the signatures, like it was not perfectly centered kind of thing. So this, I really like the centering and the colors and everything about this. Great new case, no nicks or knacks on the case. So that's the second reason, and perfect copy pretty much. Third reason, I bought it from a Canadian seller. So yeah, shipping was about $15. Yeah, it was like $395 shipped, I guess, in Canada, which is pretty great. From the States, you really can't get under $20 shipping to Canada from the United States. So, and you know, Canadian seller, perfect book. Kind of support a Canadian seller is, you know, not a bad thing, I think, either. But for the most part, I am that guy that's like willing to pay $30 or $40 more to get like the perfectly centered one. Because it's a lot of times, even if one of these popped up in an auction, it's not going to be nicely centered, and the colors are going to be faded, and it'll probably still go for, you know, $20 or $30 less than that. So is it worth it? So really, I think the main reason was it was just a perfect copy. Yeah, great colors, perfect copy. So price range really quick. I'll go, you know, $380 for mine. $330, great stab by the team member that got to me on Instagram there, and $425, kind of the sort of higher end promotional price, because in this environment there's definitely some promotion. Like, people are really liking the Snake Eyes actor, I think, and there seems to be a little bit more hype for this G.I. Joe movie for other movies. But I want to take the time to just talk quick about, because I want to talk about sort of auctions versus best offers. Because I think a lot of times you can get really good deals by going the best offer route. auctions I think are good at times, but for books that are sort of driving some promotion in other ways, where there's a new movie coming out or something like that, usually you won't get deals in auctions for books like those, because those auctions really attract a lot of noobs that are going to drive up the prices, that saw, you know, a cool G.I. Joe Snake Eyes cover, or a cool Venom or trailer, or a cool Venom, you know, whatever it might be, getting right into Venom and, you know, getting excited about this Venom Carnage movie. So those type of books in auctions, a lot of times, aren't really, you're not going to really get deals in auctions with those kind of books. Auctions really work well for sort of more underfollowed cool books that don't have any promotion going on for them. But to get really good deals, pays a lot to really be on top of buy it nows or best offers. And what you want to do, the savviest thing to do, is to sign up for email alerts for whatever specific issue it is. Because then when a new posting comes up, or a new auction with a best offer pops up, you'll get that really quick. Then you go on. You got to be quick is basically the main way of how you're going to get deals. So, you know, you get an email alert for an auction, you go right on the auction, you make a very competitive, you know, best offer, sort of, I would say, the lower end of fair market value. And a lot of times, if that seller is sort of in a bit of a rush to get rid of their book, you might get them to give you a bit of a deal. And that's how I've sort of got a lot of deals on my books, and certainly talking to the team and having the team get at me with some of their buys, I think that's how a lot of people are getting deals on their books, is they're really quick when a new listing pops up, and they send in those you know, competitive best offers sort of near the lower end of fair market value. And yeah, a lot of times some people out there just need a couple $100 or whatever it might be. So that's sort of how to get deals, because I do kind of tout auctions quite a bit, I think, on the channel here. And, you know, auctions, a bidding war could break out, and the bidding wars are more likely to happen with, you know, these heavily promoted books when there's a movie or a show or an announcement that just happened or that's coming out, whatever it might be. So, yeah, just, you know, a couple lessons to, I think, discuss. And, yeah, you know what, I think, yeah, we kind of touched on it, but when you're comic book collecting, you know, it is great to really be disciplined and not emotional for the most part, but every now and then, I think it's, you know, a decent, you know, you don't have to be so unemotional, and you can get emotional and get out there, and maybe overpay 10 or 20% for a book that you really want every now and then, and not really feel guilty about it. Like, that's the whole thing. I think, you know, you don't want to, you know, feel really guilty about maybe paying a little bit more for a book, because, yeah, like, kind of concluding up, I do actually want another copy of G.I. Joe 1. So I think what I'm going to do is, you know, kind of paid up for this one. I think $380 is a pretty big pay up, or a decent pay up. So I really want to try to get another one near that $325 level. But if I can't, I want to just go see the Snake Eyes movie. I'll have one, and a really nice one, and then wait 6 months till after the movie is what I usually recommend, and then I'm, you know, gonna get in for another G.I. Joe #1, hopefully in a newsstand. Because yeah, I think long term this book, I think it's a really good book to have. I think G.I. Joe's a great brand. There's a lot of great first appearances in there, and I do think it's a really cool book to have. And yeah, the cover's great. Not a super rare one, so, you know, it's going to be one of those books, if it does do well over time, it's going to be because of, like, the coolness, more so than the rarity, with the CGC 9.8 ratio being 20.9%. That's not really that low for, like, a 1982 book. This one is. So yeah, concluding up, want to buy another one, maybe around $325. If not, 6 months after the movie, I'm going to get a better price. And that is like a sort of known phenomenon with prices and CGC 9.8 books, I think. Like, happened on my Silver Surfer 44, CGC 9.8. I bought it during Avengers Endgame. I have 2 of them. Bought one during Avengers Endgame for $230. Then bought one 6 months after Avengers Endgame for $150. And they were both in auctions, both sort of market prices of the moment. And obviously big difference when the movie's out of theaters and the promotion dies and nobody's talking about it and they're thinking about the new movies now and the new whatever's cool. that's when you're going to get a better price. So I think I'm going to do that for my next G.I. Joe #1. So I'm kind of following my rules for one buy, hopefully. But paying up a little bit for this one. $380 for just a perfect, pretty much, G.I. Joe #1. So yeah, really great to have this one and share it with everyone. And yeah, it's one of those books I've been sort of in the room just taking it out and having a look at the cover of it. So already a great pride of ownership, I think, from the book. But if you haven't already, I'd invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8 and hit the bell to get all our latest notifications. Add me on Instagram and Twitter too. Got all the links in the description below for all that stuff. But yeah, thank you very much for watching today. And yeah, really glad I could show you my new G.I. Joe Real American Hero. With that auction that had ended last night for $425, my bid was $405. I was bidding on that and I was hoping to win it. And $405 for me would have been an overpay, and I was hoping if there was a brave soul to go over $400, it would just be like $401, $402. But $425 is, I think, an interesting price and a bit of a bidding war breaking out for that one going for, because there's some on eBay right now for like $369.95, although they're not newsstand editions. But this being a bit of an early 80s book, the newsstands don't have too much of a premium. Late 80s they're more rare and elusive. But yeah, you know what? Really happy I could just kind of share my new CGC 9.8 with everyone. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate all the comments and taking the time to leave a comment and all the support. And if you want to talk to me kind of directly on Instagram, is probably the best. So message me on Instagram if you got any questions about CGC 9.8 comic books or whatever it might be for comics. Thanks very much for watching today, though. Again, one where I've been over in my comic book room just taking this one out, and I think it's a great long-term buy and great pride of ownership, great cover, so I would recommend it sort of in this environment closer to that $325 price, and buy before the movie. Like once the Snake Eyes movie trailer drops and it comes out, you don't want to buy during that time. So now might be the time to maybe find a deal for this book. Alright, thanks very much for watching today. And again, appreciate all the support. So keep those comments coming, and definitely message me on Instagram if you have any questions about comic books. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.